Just to start, today's presentation, what I'm going to do is going to give you an overview of what I call the social media map in 2014. Social media is starting to diversify and we're seeing lots of different activities, and I'll just give you a quick overview using some case studies from both Surrey businesses and home county businesses and some big British brands that you may know as well that are doing particularly well. I'm going to talk briefly about social and search, especially Google. Google's becoming more influential, and you may have heard of the platform Google Plus, and to explain how that knits in with improving search engine results for your business. A couple of mentions: if you're in the habit of tweeting, HCBA are at 4HCBA. Of course, Surrey Chambers as well are at Surrey Chambers on Twitter, and you can use the hashtag BeXeX. So we'd love it if you say a little bit afterwards if you feel so inclined. So this is me. I've been in the digital game since 1992, digital marketing since 1998. I'm a bit of an old age pensioner when it comes to these things. And I've been probably a very early adopter. From 2003 I started using social media, so that's 11 years now. And I wrote a book recently, where we go, called Build Your Tribe, the New Marketing Manifesto for Restaurants, Bars and Cafes. But I also work with a wider range of businesses as well, especially in the area of social media marketing. Okay, so everybody's heard of Facebook and Twitter. We've got 62.49% now of UK internet users on Facebook and 28% of UK internet users using Twitter. So it's really becoming part and parcel of our daily life, and everybody's very familiar with these big behemoths of the social media space. But social media is certainly diversifying, and I think what we're going to see in the next few years is that different groups are going to start gravitating more to different sorts of channels. And I just wanted to give you a feel for where those groups are currently seen to maneuver. So for example, we've got Pinterest up here, high spending females. We've got Foursquare, a very male activity and generally a higher spend, as with LinkedIn. Facebook, because it covers such a broad range of the population, lower spend but a very wide audience. We're seeing YouTube and Google Plus being great spaces, more for the male mindset than the female mindset. Twitter and Instagram sort of sitting either side. Again, it certainly does depend on the type of brand and business that you are. I work a lot with hospitality businesses, and I see Twitter audiences of 70%, 80% female. So this is not a hard and fast rule, but it's certainly something just to give you a sense of the landscape that we're seeing at the moment. And for this presentation, I've just mapped on some particular examples that I'm going to look at today for each of these channels. So to start with, I thought I'd talk about Google Plus. Now, Google Plus is something a lot of people say to me, what is it? How does it work? In effect, it's the social media channel that Google have created, where people can now make their own accounts and have their own profiles, have their own business accounts, and this information then gets fed by Google through into search engine results and onto mobile results and so forth. And it'll become more and more important in the future. I've taken this example of a company called eFrame.co.uk. They're Cambridge based, and I think they're using Google Plus in a really clever way. They frame photographs, but they've created some great content off the back of that. They're posting photographs on a regular basis. And for example, they've got these beautiful pictures here of the Lake District. Now, one correlation that I've seen in the research that I've been doing is the more that people, Google Plus one is a little box you might have seen on the internet. Has anybody seen that? Google Plus one? The more people Google Plus one your Google page, the more that can impact your ranking on search engine results. So businesses that are ahead of the curve at the moment, if they see there's any opportunity for engaging with an audience on Google Plus, they're setting themselves up and making sure that people realise that they're there and starting to encourage this interaction. So certainly, if you've got something, especially if it's technology-based or cutting edge business based, or if it's in an area that would be particularly of interest to a more male mindset, I would say at the moment, or a younger audience, Google Plus could be a good place for you to be. Good brands ask for people to +1. So he's actually said the 3 Knowleswater in the Lake District, feel free to share this image with friends and family. Also +1 me for more stunning HDR. So there's nothing like just asking people to +1, and I think that's certainly a helpful tactic that generally seems to work. So now, if you go on to Google to search for framing, you will see that if somebody searches for this company, because they have a Google Plus profile, they actually have this box which appears in the search engine results, which makes them stand out way more than the average competitor. You will also see as well that there are seller reviews. If I show you the next slide, you'll see, for example, here, 155 reviews. And these reviews are coming off Google again. So it's again starting to make this business look a lot more attractive and stand out in search engine results in comparison to others. So these are just a few more examples that I'm showing you here. I'll come back to Google Plus a little bit later in the presentation, but I'm just going to run you through just a few more examples. So for example, I have Fox Hills here. Anyone been to Fox Hills? I'm sure it's a very well-known venue to all the Chamber of Commerce members here. Now I think they do a fantastic job of using Facebook to promote them. I take as a statistic that if 10% of your Facebook followers are talking about you in any given week, you're doing really well at Facebook at the moment. And this business certainly is. And that's not the norm. I'm seeing businesses that perform poorly on Facebook maybe have 1%, 2% people talking about their pages, and they're having to resort to paid adverts. But if you've got good content, and by good content I think it's personable, it's friendly, it exudes the personality of the business. After all, it's social media, it's not media, it's social. So if you can come up with stories that people like to share or comment on, you're far more likely to do well in this space. Pinterest. Anyone used or heard of Pinterest in the room? A couple of people here. Generally, it's more female pursuit, and the figures show that high-spending 25 to 35-year-old women in the UK really like using Pinterest, especially if they're planning for weddings. So if you happen to have a business that you're working with or know a business who's in the wedding space or the event space, Pinterest is absolutely the place to be. And this is an example of a Surrey business in Farnham called Eden Blooms. And what they do is they create scrapbooks, online scrapbooks, or what are called boards, and post these images that people can then share with each other. If I was this business, I'd also be interacting with some of the bloggers in this space who also use Pinterest. So for example, this lady, London Bride, she's got 3,744 followers, and she's got a really good audience. The business I showed you previously only had about 174 followers. Really, it's about interacting with influencers and businesses that are in your space who are doing much better on these channels. And if there are ways that you can get them to talk about your content, you're far more likely to create a better impact for yourself. Foursquare. Anyone use Foursquare? A couple of Foursquare users? Again, generally more of a male pursuit. Meat Liquor is a restaurant in central London, and it's probably one of the most successful on Foursquare now. Foursquare is used for people to make reviews of restaurants, cafes, bars, and generally for quite high-profile venues. So if somebody went to Harrods or Selfridges or a big venue like that, people are seen to be offering tips and reviews and star rating. Meat Liquor works really well because it's a restaurant that focuses on the male mindset. They've got things like a dead hippie burger and so forth, and it's got a lot of humour, and it's a very sort of bawdy place, but also has some great values behind the business. They use sustainable products and so forth, and So it's really carved a niche out for itself on Foursquare. LinkedIn. Now, how many businesses here have LinkedIn business profiles? A few. And have you updated them recently to use these photographs to make them look more attractive? No, well, this is an option now to start to make your business look more interesting to potential employees. Fisher Meredith is a Surrey-based law firm, which is based both in London and Surrey, and I know they specialise, I think, in business law, but also in family law. And they're doing great things like writing articles and blogs and connecting them with their LinkedIn business profile. And this is just a good way to start to feed out content marketing about their particular specialism. And I would certainly recommend that all businesses are upgrading to make their LinkedIn profiles look more attractive like this for the longer term. Brompton Bikes, I think they're a fantastic example of using YouTube really well. YouTube, again, has a more male audience than a female audience. I think there's a 10% difference. 30% females using it, 40% males. Sorry, I've got my numbers wrong. I should look at my figures here. Just give me a second. Yeah, 81% of all 18 to 34-year-olds are using YouTube, as opposed to 64% of women in the same age group. Now, one of the most popular clips on this YouTube channel that's been set up by Brompton has had 129,000 views. Now, YouTube really lends itself to demonstrating how to do things, how things work. So if you've got a product that you can take apart and put back together again, or have some sort of technical aspect to it, or there's some element demonstration, then I would suggest YouTube's a really good channel for you to work on. And it seems to work really well for Brompton Bikes so far. And they don't just talk about the actual bike and the way that it works, but they also have videos which show the event. They have the Brompton World Championship every year, where people come with their old-up bikes and they race against each other, and they show videos, and that's more about the brand and, you know, the values that are associated with the brand. Now, this is very much a whistle-stop tour, as I realise we've just got a short amount of space. Moving on to Instagram. Any Instagram users here? A couple? Oh, I can see we've got some very keen social media users in the audience, which is nice to see. Now, Instagram, I think, is one of the most exciting platforms out there at the moment. It's growing hugely with young users, especially in the 18 to 25-year-old age group. It's very popular with female audiences as well. Now, I think this is a particularly good example. This is a company called Daylesford Farm. They have 3 farm shops and a cafe in central London, and they've got 36,000 followers, which is quite an incredible number, I think, considering they're not a nationwide or a nationally known brand. They get regular interaction. This single picture of some asparagus and potatoes has had 237 people liking it. Now, the really big brands are using this well, like Jamie Oliver and so forth. They're getting 12,000 people liking a single image. And you're seeing levels of engagement on Instagram that you just do not see on any other channel. And I guess that's because there's a lot less advertising, it's still very youth-focused. But certainly if that's relevant to your business or any business that you know, I think you absolutely have to be on this space presently. Lastly, just a quick look at Twitter. Now, I've picked Carluccio's because I think Carluccio's are one of the best purveyors of Twitter at the moment as a UK brand. There's one single statistic that I use to measure how successful somebody is on Twitter, and it's called, technically it's called retweets per 100. How many times are your tweets retweeted for every 100 tweets that you send out? In the case of Carluccio's, in an analysis I did recently, they had 2,362 retweets per 100 tweets. Now, a lot of other businesses that I know in the same space are maybe making under 100 retweets, or maybe 200 or 300 or 400 retweets, but this is just extraordinary. And I think it all boils down to the fact that they've got a very integrated marketing approach, they've got a fantastic tone of voice, They speak in a language which is consistent with everything that's going on in store. It's very chirpy, it's intelligent, smart, it's funny, and it has an appeal with an audience from 25 to 45, which is quite wide in the social media sphere. It's because they just do it really well. They invest a lot of time and effort in connecting with people in a language that makes a lot of sense. And they run some fantastic competitions as well, and that certainly helps to boost the numbers too. But if you're looking for a good example of Twitter, I would certainly recommend Carluccio's. Now, moving on to search and social. You may have seen this on your mobile phones, but now Google wants to take more and more information from users as to what sort of experience they had of businesses. They're even adding little things on a mobile app. The Google mobile app, did you have a happy time or a sad time? Everything is boiling down now to how many ratings and stars and reviews that you've had. And all of this is being sort of fed back into the search engine results output. Just another example of another business with 72 Google reviews, again making it stand out in the search results. And this is what's happening next with Google. You may not have seen this yet, but what they're going to do is replace those 7 text results that you might have seen at the top of Google and replace them with a photo carousel. And they found from testing that people immediately want to start clicking on these photographs. They find them more attractive. I think we were living in a more visual age where people just like to click on photographs a lot more readily. And the reviews are being listed underneath as well, plus how expensive, for example, these particular restaurant examples are. But this accounts for all sorts of venue-based businesses, and this will be rolling out. You'll see more of this in the coming year. At the moment, in the US, where they've already started to roll it out, they think it's affecting travel and hospitality by 33%, restaurants by 27%, and entertainment by 5%. And on average, the carousel is affecting search by about 14%. But I definitely think we will see a more increase of this too. And this is just an example of how search is being integrated into Facebook. Has anybody heard of the open graph on Facebook that's coming? Our social media, of course, yes. Basically what Facebook are saying is we want to be able to give you results which are really pertinent to your experience and your set of friends. What do your friends like? What's happening in your local area? Now, if I was just to search for hotels in Ottershaw, it's bringing up cocktails and it's showing me the reviews straight off. And if I happen to know these people, it's going to make this more relevant with the search results than you might do with searches that you may have seen previously. And I can even ask bars liked by my friends in central London or restaurants liked by my friends, and it starts to get more and more personal. So this is where all this sort of grading and star rating and reviews are all being sort of added into the mix. I know there are some industries that are sort of at the forefront of this, but I think generally people are going to be grading and star rating more and more businesses in the future, and we're going to see this type of thing going forward. You know, a printer, recommended printer to me that my friends have used and liked or rated, and you'll be seeing more results like this too. So it becomes more and more personal to people over time. So that's the end of my short little presentation of where social media is at the moment. I just wanted to open the floor and ask how is social media working for your business at the moment?